thanks for coming.
Sure.
You've had a chance to look at the questions.
I have. Got a couple notes. Hope I get to cheat.
That's good. Bring all the clip notes you can.
Well, if you're going to give me the questions, you know.
Yeah. We're going to let you do the talking and just follow the outline.
Okay.
If we have questions or clarifying questions, we'll just jump in there.
Okay.
And I don't see any need for introductions. So.
No, we all know each other. Just let me begin by saying that one of the reasons that I submitted an application to do this was just my history in Mesa County, and my service to the community, my service to District 51 as a whole. There are 3,000 employees more or less, a lot of great folks and a lot of good people, that work here, and work for our community and work for our students. Given the events of the last couple of months, I thought, let's just acknowledge that. Let's move on from that, and let's go. So that's why I'm here. Like I said, I spent 19 years in District 51. Had a pretty good run at Palisade High School. A lot of I think school awards. Mr. Pitt would be able to tell you that because he was a part of that staff. Doug was a parent there. Dr. Davis was a parent there. And so much of that falls to the principal, but really that's just a lot of good work by a lot of good folks. That really bought in. Decided to change. And wanted to work hard. At changing the perception of Palisade High School outside of just being a pretty good football team. And so how we worked at that as a group, as a whole, as a staff, and all the things that sustained that change, even after I left. I just think, if you read the article that the op-ed that I had in the newspaper a couple months ago, it was just a response about trying to deflect, all the news and things that were going on about School District 51, and to remind folks of all the great things that happen here, all the great things that are going on here, and all the great things that we as a district have accomplished. And I think, among the news and among all the reporting, that got lost, and it was just a response to all the people in District 51 that says, hey, don't forget us, don't forget the students, don't forget our staff and all the great things that happened here, and what we're trying to accomplish here, in a performance-based system. So that's really why I'm here. I can go through it and name a lot of things, but it's just a call to service, and an opportunity for me to come in and to reestablish myself in District 51, at least for the next 9 months, and make a difference again. So that's why I'm here. The second question, if I was hired as the interim superintendent, what do I think makes the biggest difference? And I've thought a long time about that, and I thought about the why me question, because you certainly have some experienced candidates that you visited with, and I've never sat in the superintendent's chair. I've never, gotten that far, and actually until Steve and I talked about this 18 months ago, didn't really aspire to this position. But at the end of the day, I think what this district means to this community, to the staff that's here, and everybody else. It's still my district too, even though I was out riding my bike, and although I can tell you my golf game didn't improve much, but how do you get yourself back into position? And I think what I bring to the table are the ongoing relationships that I have here with the staff. Those relationships and those people that I know so well and have worked so long and hard with, that I can reintroduce, and reignite, right away. It's not going to take me long to get used to, District 51. I don't know where we are in the implementation of the D51 learning model, but I knew where we were last May and April, and so I have a sense of that, getting with Lee and Rebecca and their team and trying to figure out where they are. I think that's a big piece, and then just talking to folks, find out where everybody is, to get caught up a little bit, but, I bring a lot of experience from District 51. I took care of, 14 schools and across all levels and all the academic options and all the career and technical ed work and all the athletics and music and everything else, that was all part of my job. It was a very broad experience, but it wasn't superintendent. It was not. You know, so you know, that's as much of a limitation, I think, as just my experience and what I bring back to District 51 to try to refocus our energy, refocus our goal, refocus our North Star, you know, is what I like to call it, when it comes to where the district's going in the next 3 to 5 years, which is a performance-based system, and all the change that goes along with that. You know, to scale, it's a big system to move. You know, and how do you do that, and how do you lead that? I think it's something that I could, for a challenge that I want to take on, or at least help us set the goal here in the next 9 months. So that's it. But I know the staff, you know, they know me, and I think we can get down to work right away. You know, communication is the part of the third question, first bullet. And in a district this size, it's always going to be a challenge. How do you do that? You know, when you're a building principal, I mean, you can get around your building, you can get in the rooms, you can talk to people, you can talk to folks because they come to you, or you go to some, you know, down to their room. You know, but in a district of 44 sites and 22,000 students and 1,700 teachers, that's a time. You know, that's a real commitment to be out and about. You know, because I've always liked to go where they are. I don't like them to come to my office. You know, and so it's a challenge. The other part, I think, is our relationship with the community. You know, and not just our parents. I think our relationship with Colorado Nation University is something that I think is a very strong relationship that we should continue to build and grow on, especially in the world of career technical ed, you know, vocational work and industrial credentialing, and how do we get our kids ready for the 21st century. I think that's a piece. You know, and so the communication piece is about who are we? Who is District 51? What are we trying to accomplish? You know, because, you know, I like to think that the last 3 months isn't who District 51 is. We're not. You know, and things happen and mistakes were made, and let's just move on from that. That's what I think. You know, and that's not us. We are a group of folks, board members, administrators, teachers, community students that want to move this school district into the 21st century. Now, we're 19 years into the 21st century, but you know what I mean. How do our students compete then, and how do they do that well? You know, so who are we, and what's our North Star, and how do we move and guide ourselves in the next 9 months? You know, to try to make sure that, you know, who's ever in the superintendent's chair next July, they have a good basis, and we've moved on, and we haven't lingered, and we haven't belabored this point, because, you know, what happened, and let's go someplace else. Communicating to me is something that I always loved, walking visitors around Palisade High School, because it was our school. You know, but they'd come see me, and we'd walk around, and I'd show them classrooms, I'd show them the outdoor classroom, I'd show them, you know, all the stuff that we did at Palisade High School. You know, and the same thing would apply here. You know, I relish the idea and the fact, you know, that being the superintendent of a school district like this, you're the face of the district, and I think our community want to see the face of the district. They want to see me out and engaged. They want to see me involved. They want to see me in community events. You know, this is going to be a 7-day-a-week job. You know, I think I feel that. You know, or that's the way that I'll attack it. You know, is how do you make sure that the face of District 51, the interim superintendent, you know, is out and about and trying to repair some of those relationships. You know, and one of the ways we do that is to tell people about everything that we're doing that's good. You know, acknowledge some of the bad stuff, and I'm not talking about the other thing. I'm talking about some of the things we need to improve on, some of the things we need to grow with. You know, because there's always room for improvement, no matter what it is. But if you talk to folks, you have, you know, some kind of a community event, you know, you see them in a grocery line, you know, wherever that is, those things about District 51 are things that I need to share with them, because at this point in time, I'm the face of District 51. Now, I will say that that's a tall order, and I have to make sure that people that I consider my communicators, my directors, assistant superintendent, principals, teachers, they're on the same page and they have the same message. You know, because when that gets fuzzy, then the community doesn't know what to think. You know, and so a lot of my work is not just about creating a message that promotes District 51, but it also helps all of our folks create and share that same message and to communicate to the community. That, I think, is the big deal. It's not about me communicating, it's about me communicating, but it's about us and who are the communicators and how do we as a system communicate out. You know, we had a very good communications department. I saw Emily here, you know, Kat's involved in that. There's a new communication director. I haven't met that gentleman yet, so I don't know. But you know, how do we activate them to share that message, you know, and all those pieces? You know, I'm happy, you know, to visit with, you know, news outlets that want to visit with me, you know, because, you know, that's where we're going to get our message out. That's how we're going to do it. You know, and if we don't do it, and if I don't shy from, or if I do shy from that, then we lose an opportunity. So communication is a big piece, you know. But first of all, back to the main point about what you asked is, I mean, what's our North Star? What are we trying to do? Who are we? You know, and I think sometimes in all the news we lose sight of that, and now in the next 9 months, it's how do we refocus that, and how do we get ready to go? Because this whole mission and vision and process to be a performance-based learning model in a school of this size, it's going to take some time.
So Matt,
Sure.
These are great thoughts, and I appreciate that. I am particularly interested, though, in the answer to the question, which for these bullets, what you bring as a strength and a possible weakness for those things. So, you know, I agree with you in what you're saying with regards to sort of the focus of our communication and those things, but with regards to accomplishing this communication or restoring trust, again, I'd be interested in knowing what your strength is, you personally, in doing that, and where you might be challenged.
Well, I think I've had some success as an administrator in being a good listener and being an engager and being a good activator of ideas, of being a part of a conversation and listening active to that. The weakness to that, I think, is two parts. First of all, getting around to all the people that want to talk to you. I think that's going to be a piece. You know, and secondly, I think as a school district, you know, our message has to be concise and complete. And how do I try to ensure that we're all sharing the same message all the time? So the other weakness is just that I've never sat in this chair before. You know, I don't know all the things that are going to pull me different directions. I don't know all the requirements, you know, being a superintendent and on a day-to-day basis that's going to keep me from trying to accomplish these other things that I'd like to accomplish, right? So I think just being, you know, a rookie, you know, and not having sat in the superintendent's chair, I think it is always going to be something that I'm always going to have to, you know, get up every day and work through and challenge those pieces, because I don't know what's going to hit me. I don't know what's going to challenge me. One of the things I used to say about being a high school principal or an elementary principal is you walk into the building every day and you have no idea what's going to hit you. You have no idea what's coming, you know, which makes it a great job, but you better be on your toes when you do it. And so to be a superintendent of a district this size, and all the people in the community and the students and the staff that we represent, I think those pieces I don't know yet about how they're going to pull for me, and that I think is a weakness that I'm going to have to work through every day. Okay. You know, restoring trust among staff and community. This was you're probably the hardest piece, because, you know, even through the early 2000s when Dr. Mills was here, you know, and we're kind of moved forward as a school district, and then we hit 2008 and everything fell off the table, right? And Steve took over. You know, I think, you know, how did we, you know, absorb those cuts? How did we still keep educating students? How do we keep doing that? And the community saw that, and the community still, you know, because the community was suffering just as much as the school district was. And how do you know, keep restoring the faith or building the faith of a community is by just showing up every day and working. That was a long time, and that was a long process for it to get from 2008 to the fall of 2017, where we passed a bond and a bill, and you know, and the community supported us, you know. And so how do you do that with community? Man, you show up every day and you work your tail off, and you do everything that you can within your job to get the community's trust back, because the community trusts us with their students. They trust us with their kids. You know, kindergartners, 12th graders, everything in between, and are we getting those students ready for the next level, for the next steps in their lives, whatever it is. And so it's going to take time to restore that. You know, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen just because I say it happens. You know, people don't remember what you say, they remember what you do. And I think, you know, when you do it consistently every day, and you put the right foot forward, and you do a good job of communicating what those things are, you know, and you keep fighting through some of the things that are negative pieces that are going to come up, you know, I think over time the community restores trust in us to do that. But it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be quick. You know, it took us a long time to get to this point, and you know, and hopefully, you know, it doesn't take us quite so long to get the community's trust. But at the same time, you know, it's broken, and we have to work at that. That's what I would say. You know, I told the group this morning that I believe that District 51, the teachers, the schools, the staff, and all the things that we're trying to do was there, and it's very much the same right now. Those schools haven't changed much, except in the implementation of the model. You know, that staff hasn't changed much, except those that retired and those that brought on. You know, what is there is essentially what was there last fall when everybody trusted us. And everybody looked at us and said, yeah, we can support a bond in the middle and build new buildings and pay parking lots and buy computers and curriculum. I think that's there. But I also think that, you know, we need to continue to try to work on that trust, and there's some trust to be rebuilt. And I think just by coming every day and working hard and doing the good things that we're already doing, the community will come back. I think they will. Because I think deep down they understand what we do for our community and our students. You know, but we also have to be smart about, you know, fiscal responsibility and making good decisions and those other kinds of things. You know, so that's how you bring the community back. You know, helping the D51 learning model. You know, I was on the ground floor. You and I went to Lindsay that one time for the first time.
We were on the floor under the kindergarten desks.
Yeah, you know, we were, and it was a career-changing experience for me anyway, because I got a glimpse into what I saw the future of what education can be. You know, so I've worked with Lee and the administrators and Rebecca the last couple of years, and Danny in staff development and all of our folks to implement what we think the District 51 learning model is and can be. You know, so I have I think a pretty good working knowledge of that. I think I don't know exactly where we are. I don't know where Danny Medved has schools in terms of staff development plans or UIP work. I don't. I don't know exactly where Lee is and her team in terms of the implementation model and what are schools working on currently to implement, you know, and at all levels, and which schools, you know, because it was kind of a phased-in rollout, and some schools got more than others. And where are we at? I don't know that. I've had those conversations. I have, for the board's review, a 90-day plan. What you can expect of me in the first 90 days, these 90 days before the holiday break. You know, and part of that, at the top of that list is a communication plan, I think, but also about how do I get in touch with staff about where are we at. You know, where are we at with the implementation of the D51 learning model? Where are we at with SEL, social and emotional growth? Where are we at with career and technical education and the process of industrialized credentialing, and how are we getting students ready? I mean, all those things were out there, you know, last spring, and where we're at now, it's just conversations with folks to try to figure that out. So for me to help the D51 learning model, I think I can step right in. I think I can add my voice to the chorus of what we're trying to get done with the District 51 learning model, you know, and how we're trying to change to a performance-based system and move this big ship, you know, towards one that's standards-based and you know competency-driven, you know, and supported by a learning management system, you know, that students and parents and everybody has access to, and all the computers that we've purchased, you know, and the curriculum that goes along with that. I mean, there's so many exciting things out there now, you know, and so you know, and I was floating around all those things for so many years, and I think I can step right back in. I haven't been gone that long, and my tan's not that good. You know, you ask about running a large district. You know, in my role as an executive director of high schools, you know, it wasn't just the high schools. It was a couple of middle schools. It was the elementary school. It was all the academic options. It was all the career and technical education work and the grants and the Perkins grant and the reimbursements and the BOCES contracts. So there's some big dollars in a big budget, you know. But again, my weakness is a superintendent to scale of this, you know, district and $170 million. I'm guessing, because I don't know, but I'm guessing it's somewhere in there. You know, I mean, how do you do that? Well, first of all, you never do it in a vacuum. You know, there's all sorts of people, you know, that work and have their hands on that money and where it's going and what that looks like every day. I think so you work with folks, you know, and it's a lot of time for me to learn what that is. You know, secondly, you know, for us to get ready, you know, because I know at the high school, you know, it's October, you know, and when it comes to October, we already start looking into next year about what that looks like. And I would be surprised if we're not looking into fiscal year 19 already. You know, Vi and Melanie and Phil and what that looks like, and are they getting ready? You know, I know that, you know, previously in years we did a lot of work, pre-negotiations, you know, for what that looks like. You know, and so those pieces need to be in place, you know, and those, you know, we need to start thinking about what those look like. So all those pieces I was involved in, you know, but again, I wasn't involved in the entire thing. I was in charge of the entire thing, and I think that more than anything else is probably the motivation and the fire that will drive my work every day, is to make sure that I am up to that task. You know, to make sure that I can do this, because I never have before. And can I, and will I, you know, and to live up to the board's faith in me and the faith of all the administrators and the staff, you know, in this district that I've known for so long, and all the students, you know, and so I think, although I haven't done it completely, I've done it partially, you know, and I think I'd be able to do it, you know, entirely with the help of others, because you never do it by yourself, and nobody works in the vacuum in this business. There's not a single thing in this business that somebody does by themselves. Everybody works together.
Can I
Sure.
ask you a question?
Sure.
So, you know, it's interesting that you say that an opportunity for improvement would be for you lack of experience. And that's not always the case in a job. It's sort of, I think, incumbent on that person to then know how they would overcome that. So you've stated that you maybe don't have the experience in being a superintendent.
Mm-hmm.
How would you go about in a very short time as being an interim, garner education around that, build your skill set pretty quickly to take on those kinds of things that a more experienced person may already know how to do?
Well, the only thing I can say to that is that I have to put myself in opportunities to learn some of the things that I don't know, because you don't know what you don't know. But you know, one of the things that I've always prided myself on as a building administrator or a teacher or a director was that, you know, 6 o'clock is usually when I'm at work, you know, and you get a chance to do stuff for a long period of time, you know, and I don't have those lifetime habits, and they're not going to change. You know, it's going to take a lot of time, and it's going to be a lot of 12 and 14-hour days, and it is going to be 7 days a week. How am I going to learn some of those things if I don't hang around long enough, or put myself, or travel around long enough, or put myself in the rooms and conversations to learn some of those things that I have to learn? You know, I have an assistant superintendent that's been a superintendent before, you know, and so there's value there. You know, I have, a staff at the administrative office plus a staff at Emerson, you know, that certainly I know well and want to help and work and do those pieces. But I have to create that time. The only way to create that time is to get to work early and stay late. You know, so you know, that's, you know, always been kind of my mantra. You know, even when I was teaching and coaching years ago, you know, because it takes a lot of time to prepare for students and prepare for football practice, you know, or baseball practice or whatever it is, along with teaching. You know, it takes a lot of time to do this too. You know, and I'm willing to do that. You know, I've always been, I think, willing to spend a lot of time in the building and take care of what needs to be done, so that you know, so I can learn and grow in my school, or my schools, you know, my level schools can grow, and what that looks like. So I think that's a big piece. But just time and effort, and more than anything else, I think we'll bring that along, you know, and at the end of 9 months, you know, we'll see where we're at.
We don't, we know you from this side of the board, and none of us have ever worked for you or anything else. Don't understand maybe your philosophy of delegating authority and how you maintain accountability at the same time, and that sort of stuff. What would folks say about that work for you?
You know, I think, you know, in the last couple of years in District 51, we spent a lot of time with the Weissman book about what are multipliers and what are diminishing traits in a leader. You know, and I, you know, go back and look at some of my assistant principals, you know, because, you know, when my tenure at Palisade High School, you know, 6 of those assistants turned into principals while I was there, you know, and a lot of staff members, you know, turned into assistant principals. And so how do you identify talents in the people around you? How do you learn about what those are? This is the coaching part of me, okay? You don't play a catcher out in right field, you know, and you know who your shortstop is on the first day of practice, right? Mm-hmm. So who are those folks? And how do you analyze, how do you evaluate talent? Then how do you use, I think, that talent? You know, and then how do you put them in a position to be successful? That's what multiplies their talent. That's what multiplies their ability to go out and do some of the things that they need to do in their roles, you know, and accomplish their responsibilities and things that they can be accountable to. You know, so you know, I think I'm a pretty good multiplier. You know, and you identify what students can do, you identify what teachers can do, you identify what administrators can do, you know, and how those are. You know, but then there are also diminishing traits. You know, and you have to watch out for being the rescuer or the quick fixer, or sometimes, you know, it's, you know, if your pitcher is out there on the mound, you know, you got to let him struggle through a tough inning, you know, rather than going out and pulling and putting somebody else in. And it's kind of a baseball metaphor, but I think it applies here. You know, students and teachers and administrators sometimes have to struggle to learn, and as a leader, sometimes that's hard to do. But I think to multiply the assets that people bring, to identify their talents, to be able to put them in positions where they can be successful, I think that's a real skill of mine, you know, and a management style that I like to lean on, you know, quite a bit, you know, and also, you know, to listen to their aspirations and help them get where they need to be, you know. So again, you know, nobody does this by themselves in this business. We all have to help each other, you know. So how do you do that as a coach, or an administrator, or in this case, potentially a superintendent? So that's how I, you know, view and put people in places and try to make sure that everybody's in a position to succeed. And how do you do that?
So I can speak as somebody that actually has worked for me. And, what you described there is accurate. So
thank you. Can I get a bottle of water? Sorry, I'm out.
Allows people to know what that North Star that he talked about is, and you're the professional, you were hired to do the job, you figure out how you're going to get there, and it allows people to blossom and do the best they can.
Thank you. There's somebody that was at Palisade High School long before I was, you know, and knew where that school was, and all the things that you accomplished there, you know. You know, we changed the culture, and the thing I'm most proud about that is that culture sustained itself after I left. You know, to me, that's, you know, second order change. It wasn't just change and then once Matt left, then something else happened at Palisade High School. That's not the case. You know, the culture that's there when I left is still there. It gave Dan a great opportunity to build and create new opportunities for Palisade High School and to grow in different directions. But I think essentially that PAC culture, that student accountability culture, you know, I think is still there and alive and kicking, you know. And I mean, your boys went through it. You had 3 kids go through it, you know. So you get a sense of what that is, and that culture still exists. And to me, that's one of the things I'm most proud of, is it's still there and it didn't go away once I left. The next bullet, managing board and board governance. I was a little fuzzy about this one. I'm not really sure what that meant. You know, I don't pretend to manage a board. You know, given all my experience as a superintendent, I certainly wouldn't know how to start. You know, but I certainly want to work with, you know, the 5 of you, you know, and provide information that helps guide our decision making and how we share decisions, not only amongst ourselves, but with everybody else in the district. you know, and how do we collaborate, and how do we put things in place, you know, so that we can stay true to our North Star, so that we can, you know, continue to build and grow on all the great work that Lee and her team are doing, you know, and make sure that that grows within our district, you know, and we do that piece, you know, and I again, I'm not sure about the managed piece, but you know, sometimes if there's conflict, you know, among people in a room, how do I provide information that mediates that conflict? How do we have a discussion based on you know the information available to us, you know? And so I don't want to say mediate in the sense of being a referee, you know, but at the same time, you know, it's my job, I think, to inform, you know, the board with all the proper information that they have to make decisions, you know, whatever those decisions are, those operational ones, those strategic ones, you know, whatever those are, and you know, to rely on my team to give me that information. And so that's the way I understood that question. You know, if I didn't hit it, then tell me. In board governance, working with and working along with, you know, the board. You know, I think I've known all of you for a long time. Worked with some of you as colleagues. You know, had you as parents in my school. You know, and so there's again another reason that I think a strength that I have in this is I bring our relationship, our time together. We're not going to have a whole lot of time to get to know each other, you know, before we have to get down to work. And so I think that more than anything else is a real positive when it comes to that. Here's another one that I wasn't sure of. An organization and a system as big as School District 51, you know, 22,000 students and 44 buildings and all the things that we have to do, you know, we have to analyze and we have to look at our resources and we have to adjust those, you know, it's certainly on a yearly basis, you know, maybe even more so than that. How do we best utilize our resources and how do we, you know, currently analyze, you know, how are we utilizing to the best of our ability? You know, and I think with all the best intentions, I think that's what Ken wanted to do. He wanted to look at our resources. He wanted to restructure. He wanted to make sure, you know that we had all of our resources aligned with the vision, the mission, our North Star, you know, performance-based learning. You know, and so you know, all that took place. So you analyze your organization. You know, you can analyze it daily. You know, but certainly you analyze it, you know, on some kind of schedule that makes sure at the end of the year, at the end of a month, you know, we're using our tax dollars, you know, as responsibly as we can. You know, it's still trying to accomplish the goal of a performance-based learning system and implementing the D51 learning model. You know, we have, you have, we all do. Even the custodians have a fiduciary responsibility to try to maintain and use the resources that we have to the best that we can. And so that's what I think organizational analysis is. How do we analyze every year? Now, I also put down, you know, about the restructure that happened last year and some of the new positions. I don't know what those are. You know, I got my news the same way everybody else did in the morning newspaper. You know, so I don't know what those are, but you know, there's some kind of evaluation over there. It's in my 90-day plan. You know, to be able to report back to the board and say some of these positions are doing what they're intended to do. Some of these need some help. You know, what can we do? Can we combine? Do we need more help in some places? You know, to do that. And so some kind of organizational analysis of the current working system. You know, and report back to the board about you know, what I find. You know, so I think that's the other part of it, organizational analysis, and how do we set up, you know, weekly meetings twice a month before Board of Education meetings, some kind of consultation basis where I can consult and ask you questions and answer and meet and give you information that I find in the day-to-day work that I'm going to do. So that's the way I took that question. But we always have to be open to analyzing, always have to be open to readjusting, always have to be open to reorganization of pieces to best align our resources because, you know, although we did get some extra money this year in terms of PPOR, you know, we bought down, or the state bought down the negative factor sum, and so there was some extra money. You know, it's not a limitless pot, and we have to make sure that we prioritize and we have conversations about what it is and how do we spend that. So I think that's a big piece. I touched on school finance a little bit already. I think, you know, I mean, we're in the middle of fiscal year 18, you know, but you know, what does fiscal year 19 look like? Not necessarily about revenues and what's coming in yet. I know that's always a moving target, you know, in lots of pieces. You know, but we should be thinking about what next steps the District 51 learning model are going to take next year. I know we're in the middle of it this year. I know they're working on it every day. I know that the implementation takes place, you know, but the implementation has to be a 3-year plan, and what are next year's resources going to look like? You know, where does CTE and vocational education and industrialized credentialing, you know, fit in? You know, because, you know, in this day and age, in the year 2025, 4 out of 5 jobs are going to require some kind of industrial credentialing, some kind of authorization, some kind of education. And how do we provide that as a school district? Not just say, go to WCC&C and get it, you know, or go off someplace else and get it. How can we provide opportunities, you know, to build those here? You know, the Career Center grew in a couple places there last year. I know Grand Junction High School of Business has grown in that place this year. I know that we did the media department at Zeb Hayward out of Fruita Monument High School, you know, issued a half a dozen SolidWorks credentials, which is a 3D CAD program, you know. So how can we do more of that to prepare our students for that next step? Because they're not all going to go to college. They're not all going to do that. They need some kind of industrialized. And so how does that fit? How do we fit those pieces, you know, and have those meaningful career and college conversations, you know, and support our students with opportunities when they're sophomores, juniors, and seniors before they get out of college or get out of high school and have to decide where they want to do. And if they have an industrialized, recognized credential, you know, that allows them to have a skill, then how do we expand that? So all those pieces, we need to look into the future, you know, and how do we do that? You know, and what is that long-term plan? Now, I understand that this is an interim job, you know, but we can still do some work there, you know, lay some foundational work and do some and do some research, you know, and set the next person up for success, you know, or at least a place to start. The fourth question is, you know, at the conclusion of this post here in 9 months, you know, at the end of June, you know, success to me would be that we've moved the District 51 learning model in a positive direction. Lee and her team are already doing it. Are we going to accomplish their goals that they have set forth through the end of the school year? Are we going to continue? What are the next best steps for that piece? That to me would be success. You know, that we didn't flounder. That this bump in the road here, you know, didn't derail it, but did it slow it down? And how did we get it up and moving again? I think to me that would be successful. I think it'd be successful, and I don't know how you measure this. I always challenge my principals all the time about that's a great idea, you know, but how are you going to measure that? Is how do we put a finger on public confidence and public trust? You know, and I'm not really sure how that happens, you know, but we can at least get out there and work at it and try, you know, and gather anecdotal information about what it is to regain the trust of our community. You know, what it is to say that, yeah, we are working hard in District 51 and we are trying to provide the best 21st educational education, you know, for your students, provide them with the best opportunities when they go to a middle school, when they go to a high school, when they graduate and exit and go off to the University of Colorado Boulder or wherever they go. You know, I think to gain that confidence back, to continue to work on that confidence, I think that would be successful. And again, it's going to take some time. You know, we're not going to do this right away, and we're not going to do it just because I say so. You know, people will remember what you do. And the last thing I would say is that, you know, we've set this bump in the road behind us. We've moved on. okay? Here it was, we dealt with it, you know, and whatever the circumstances were, because I certainly don't have any information about that, other than what I got in the newspaper, you know, that we've moved on, you know, that the public will continually remind us of that, you know, but we've moved on and gotten better because of that. You know, there's always opportunity, you know, when something like that happens, you know. All right, how do we handle that? You know, do we go out and take that as an opportunity to improve, you know, to look at our system and advance, and then our community will respond to that. That's what I think. Let's move on, and in 9 months, you know, it's always going to be out there, but it's not a factor anymore, and people have seen how we've responded to that, and we've moved on. You know, is there anything else in my background, you know, that I'd like you to know? You know, there's probably lots of opportunity for me to talk about myself and brag about my accomplishments, but they're not my accomplishments. You know, there are 4 banners in the hallway at Palisade High School about Distinguished Governor's Awards. Those aren't mine. You know, that belong to a staff and the students that work so hard to get those there. You know, you work at Principal of the Year, you know, awards and those kinds of things. Well, you're only as good as a principal as the people that you lead. You know, and how do you lead them? You know, how do you model, and how do you multiply, and how do you do those things with your staff? You know, and then as a leader, you know, some of those things come at you. So I don't worry about those things so much. You know, except to say that I'm probably the underdog in this race. You know, I'm probably the guy with the least. Well, I know I'm the guy with the least experience. You know, and so what do I bring that nobody else brings? You know, and I've thought really long and hard about what those pieces are. You know, and the only thing I can bring is just my history here. You know, my passion, I think, for this work, the passion, you know, for our community, you know, and the support of our students in public education, because I spent a lifetime and a career doing it. You know, and how I think now I have another opportunity to try to make a difference, which is why I, you know, called up and said, hey, what do you guys think? So that's what I would say. You know, I know I'm the underdog here, and I don't have all the experience, and I don't have you know the knowledge of the working knowledge, but that takes time more than anything else. You know, all I can promise you guys is that, you know, I'll show up early and stay late, and, you know, make sure the coffee's on when you guys stop by at 6:30 in the morning, right? Okay.
It's an interesting segue into a question that I've been hesitating to know whether I wanted to ask or not, but I think I will. So, you know, we as a board thought about internal versus external candidates. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's an interesting question to say, for an interim person coming off the situation we just did, do you want someone from within the school district who sort of knows folks, has been a calming influence in other circumstances, is well regarded, mm-hmm. You know, and thank you for stepping up and putting your application forth. So, experience or no experience, you're the internal candidate, right, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And we thought about this, like consciously. Sure. Versus an external candidate, which would be someone, and by that I define as someone who doesn't necessarily have preconceived ideas about the structure, leadership, blah, 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 of the school district, who's going to have potentially fresh look, fresh ideas, and maybe, again, consultatory, which I'm sort of looking mm-hmm. for. Sure. So tell me about your thoughts about that difference, and if you were me and you were looking at what we just went through, internal person versus an external person, what does that feel like to you? And you know, if you were me, how would you think about that?
I've wrestled with that exact same question. You know, because I understand that, you know, there's value in having somebody come in with a clean slate. You know, there's somebody that has no idea, no preconceived notions, doesn't work, and so they learn from their work with our staff. You know, as opposed to somebody that you know, I'm already on square K or L. You know, and so, you know, you can get to work right away, and you don't spend a lot of time developing relationships. You know, we're in the people business. Tim Mills taught me that years ago, you know, and we work with people all the time. And people is based on good relationships and sound relationships, you know, and healthy relationships between colleagues. And I think it takes a long time for somebody from outside the district, you know, to develop that piece. You know, a conversation with me over in finance tomorrow would look a lot more different than a conversation with another candidate that had no idea where finance is, or Vi's background, or Melanie's background, or their successes. You know, so I'm a couple steps ahead there when it comes to that. But I do bring experience. I do bring, all the work that I've done in District 51. You know, so there is that piece. And so, you know, to me, what I would say is that we can start moving right away. I mean, we have work to do. You know, one of the things that, as a community member, not an ex-employee, as a community member, and I know that we were constrained by board policy and timelines and things like that, you know, but this process moved pretty slow. And in the meantime, there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and there's a lot of teachers out there that just hunker down in their rooms and close their doors and just work with their kids, which is what they like to do. But you know, if they feel, you know, slighted, they were disappointed in the system, you know, I don't want to say disenfranchised necessarily, but certainly they were upset, I think, the ones that I've heard from. That makes Lee's job doubly tough, because those people aren't engaging in staff development and all those other pieces that are going to take us to get to that next step. You know, I think by coming in and being the internal candidate, you know, and having good relationships, I think with most of the folks in District 51, you know, we can start and get to work, you know, and get down the road a lot more quickly, you know, and I think maybe thoroughly, just because of my working knowledge of the people and the processes and where we are. So that's what I would say. You know,
and the counter to that is, so granted.
Sure.
So then the thing that we wrestle with, I'd like to ask how you get around that. So the idea that, well, you're part of the establishment and part of how things used to be when there was a lot of movement towards sort of change and moving the district forward. So there's the strength that you have of being the internal candidate, and then there's this question about, well, do we really want something different? And again, we're talking about for 8 or 9 weeks. So how do you then counter that? So how do you bring the other value? So how do you bring that fresh? Even though I'm part of what used to be, I'm sort of part of the establishment, I still want to bring that piece that an external candidate would bring. So tell me how you would do that. You know,
all I can do, I think, is promise to you and the board that I will be as open and as objective and as thorough in any kind of process as possible. You know, it's hard to be, you know, completely, you know, blinded, you know, by the fact that I was here for so long. But at the same time, I have a responsibility to the Board of Education and to our community to be objective. I have a responsibility to everybody in the room to make sure that I do, you know, listen to all sides of the argument and to be fair and to make hard decisions or have hard conversations. I think, you know, that's a piece that as we get there, you know, I think I'm very capable of having, you know, and I'll have to just, you know, have worked through the process of getting rid of this, you know, this idea that, you know, Matt's just one of the old guys and he's back in town again. You know what I mean? And so you know, my integrity and my character about how do we look at problems, and how do I have a clean and objective look and an objective process to come to conclusions and decisions about any number of things, budget, finance, buildings. We haven't talked about the mill and bond yet, or staffing decisions. You know, I think, you know, when it comes to that, you know, I have the same amount of, you know, character and integrity, you know, and responsibility as anybody else that would sit in this chair. What I do bring is just that years of experience in District 51, and they don't have that. So that's what I would say.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
You're an advantage and a disadvantage. We know you really well. You know, we've met 2 people tonight we've never seen before. So.
Well, you know, it does. It's a two-edged sword, you know, and there's a lot of I think, you know, I have a certain amount of support, you know, from the district, to fit into this role, you know, and I'm proud to have that, because that's a lot of good people out there, you know, that do a lot of good work, and for them to have confidence in me, you know, and share their confidence, through letters and texts and all the things that you do, it's very uplifting to me to know that there's that kind of support, you know, for me in this role, because they think I could do what I did in my other roles in District 51.
Thanks.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely, good to see you.
You know, it's good to see you too.
I like you with the tan, I'm telling you.
Well, you know, I put a lot of miles on my bike this summer, you know, and I am trying to plant peaches and not grapes. But I did spend a week. My wife took me to Hawaii for 6 days because I was 60 a couple weeks ago.
So what are you gonna do with your golf game?
You know,
You know, go back in the river?
it doesn't seem to be getting any better no matter what I do. You know, so you know, anything that might come my way, yeah, my golf game is my golf game. You know,
Yeah.
but that's outside too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
Matt.
Thank you
Good to
again
see
for the
you.
opportunity. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it. I have, for everybody,
Okay.
my plan of action.
Okay.
I handed it out this morning. For you, you know, and this is just really kind of, you know, my thoughts of what I think the first 90 days should look like, you know, but it's certainly a fluid document. You know, a superintendent works at the pleasure of the Board of Education, and what's on here is what I'm thinking, but I certainly can't speak to what you guys as a board are thinking about what might also fit on here as well. So, but it is, you know, just a look at of what I think, you know, the first 90 days of what you can expect from me, along with anything else that you might need, or, you know, meetings or consulting, or, you know, whatever that is, you know, because really you serve at the pleasure of the board, you know, and we're all in this working together, you know, to get past this 9 months, and let's get back to work. Thank you.
Thank you.